Nifty Gateway, a centralized marketplace for buying, selling, and creating NFTs. Various users on there were having their accounts taken over. And I believe there are two instances going on here. One of their existing pre-purchased NFTs being moved and being sold by a third party that they did not authorize. And then two, also their credit card details attempting to be used to purchase additional NFTs. So what this means is that essentially hackers have taken over a few users' accounts. And now Nifty said in a statement this morning, it was a small number of users. And in fact, that none of the accounts had two-factor authentication turned on, which is a big old kind of red flag when it comes to any sort of security here. But to me, the idea of a digital art heist, I thought was really interesting because now you're also seeing users kind of say, hey, Nifty, like, what can you do to help us get our art back? And right now, it's a little unclear. I'm waiting back on an email from them, actually. So I want to toss this to the group. What are your initial thoughts? Is this a matter of people running into a market that is currently still saturated, or is this potentially something we might see more of going forward?
Yeah, I have a question for Jen. Do you think that?
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you think that newbies into the space understand this? Do you think that they know the dangers of like the permanence of these blockchain transactions? And do you think they're doing the right thing to secure themselves in general?
I think
lots of questions there.
Yeah, Ben, you go for it.
No, Jen, take it away, and then I'll jump in.
Okay. Well, I think there's so much hype around it right now. So everyone's just, trying to get involved really quickly and maybe not taking enough time to educate themselves on how to protect themselves and what exactly they're getting into. But I also think two-factor authentication is something that we should be doing not only when we're buying NFTs, but for most of our online transactions and interactions. So yeah, I think people are just rushing into it, not understanding what they're getting into. And unfortunately, they're being taken advantage of.
Yeah, the high level takeaway here is like turn on 2FA for everything. Generally, like if it's there, please use it. It's there for a reason. It lets you have to kind of allow access from an or notified if there's an unknown device trying to access your accounts or anything like that. And it lets you kind of shut those things down, and also sends you kind of one-time codes that you can use as a two-factor login for the most part. So that should be a part of anybody's like basic level cybersecurity of things. But I do think too that this points to an issue about a lack of understanding about sort of the irreversibility of some of these transactions when they happen in a decentralized way, right? Like I believe in one tweet I saw floating around, like Amex was able to stop one of the charges to try and buy a new NFT. And I think that's the mindset people are really used to in the world today because it is so centralized. Like there is a level of a safety net that you can rely on. And when you enter into new spaces where that doesn't exist, that is something you take for granted in a lot of cases. And so this really highlights, some of the pitfalls in some ways of decentralization. You don't have that centralized control, but that can be a really double-edged sword.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's a scary territory for people as they start to realize this about blockchain. And as you said, we're so used to clicking that forgot password button. And that all of these things are retrievable if anything happens to it. And although people are always saying like, back up your keys, put on two-factor, be really careful with your security. We say these things, but let's be honest, at the end of the day, this stuff is difficult and it takes time out of your day, and it's not at the forefront of people's minds because it doesn't affect them. And so they don't really care about it that much until it personally affects them. So hopefully this is a learning curve for people who haven't taken their security seriously in the past.
I will say that losing a bunch of money is the best way to learn really quickly.
Dang. Okay.
If you think of it like tuition for the school of crypto hard knocks, that way is a good approach to that. So that's just people paying tuition.